How's it going, everyone? We are not on the homestead right now. We are actually out getting some firewood. We are on a property owned by someone that I know who's hired me to come through and log off what they need logged off. They're going to be building a house on this property, so it's my job to clear the trees that need clearing. But today's task is getting the firewood out, and because we're so far back here, we're not too far back, but I can't get my truck all the way back here, we're using the quad with a sled to great success to get these logs out of here. So we're going to demonstrate that. We do have a little bit to talk about on the quad, as well as my MS391, my beloved go-to chainsaw. Couple reviews coming out in this video, so stay tuned. Let's get to work. So when this area was being settled back, 100 plus years ago, somewhere around that time frame, this area was logged off and all the old growth was taken. But you can see pretty much all of the trees have been replanted. Nature has taken care of itself. Now, going back using aerial photos, it looks like these trees planted themselves. Once again, this was not done artificially. These were all done naturally. Somewhere around the 60s. So these trees are probably going to be somewhere in the range of 50 to 60 plus years old. Some of them are definitely older. Like, there's a lot of really good sized Doug fir out here, but for the most part, they're just going to be, 60 to 70, maybe 80, 90, 100 year old on the high end. Second growth trees, still very good shape though. Very beautiful out here, and it's a true mixed stand. You got larch, you got birch, you got aspen, you got ponderosa, you got lodgepole, you got cottonwood. Think of a tree that's in North Idaho and it's probably on this 5-acre parcel. It's pretty crazy. My beloved MS391. Guys, I bought this saw new back in 2017. It was my first chainsaw and I still love it. Now, we had some problems with it recently and it definitely looks a little bit different than the last time you saw her. But before we talk about her, I just want to put a couple cuts in, show you that she does still run. Then we're going to take her back to the shop after I load up this firewood. We'll talk about her there because this chain definitely needs a filing on her. It's a factory steel chain. No hand files on it yet. It desperately needs one though. I did hit the rakers once or twice with the file, so it's just a little bit hungry. Not too much though. Have the full wrap kit on it. Like I said, we'll talk about that back at the shop. So, gonna just put a couple cuts in, see how she goes. like I say, definitely needs a sharpening. You could definitely tell in that last cut. But she still cuts just fine. I was dogging her into the wood, giving her a little bit, tugging on her just enough, and she runs beautifully. I love this girl. So I'm going to finish loading up, and then we're going to get back, start sharpening this gal. We're going to talk about her a little bit. Last couple logs and a few pieces of gear. Time to load up and head home. Now ain't that a pretty sight? Old school 1978 Ford F-250 with a Cummins, loaded down with firewood and a beautiful Stihl in the back. Oh man, I love this life. Alright, so I do apologize for wearing my PJs, but my work for the day is basically done. It's time to file the saws, do a review, and welcome to the saw filing corner. I also apologize for the echo, but I'm in my shop, so there's not much I can do about that. All these posters are from the Idaho Forest Products Commission. Thank you guys. I really do appreciate them. I really love having this inside my shop, especially in my little saw filers corner. So shout out to you guys. If you want some posters, go talk to them. They are very, very generous people. You can see my nice lineup of saws, some of my axes, my crosscut saws. All of those crosscut saws are crescent ground, and I've been hunting those down over the past couple months. But we're not talking about the saw filing corner right now. We're talking about this little gal. So let's get to filing. Let's get to talking. There's a lot to discuss. The MS391. I'll tell you what, this saw, I've loved this saw. It's worked very well for me. At the same time, it's a chainsaw. It's going to have some problems. Man, these teeth need some work. So, I made a review of this saw a while ago. Right when I got it. I got the saw new back in 2017. And in, I want to say October, November that year, October, November of 2017, I did a review, and it was a little preemptive. I didn't really know too much about chainsaws. I didn't really know too much about cutting down trees even, but I still put out a review because, hey, YouTube is full of internet experts at the end of the day, so why not try to be one? Aspire to be an internet expert. And I got a lot of hate for it. Most of the hate saying that that 28-inch bar would not run on this saw and is too big for anything that I'm working with. Well, I'm transitioning to a 32-inch bar on a an MS650. So, yeah, I think that says enough. But regardless, this thing does pull a 28-inch bar with full house chain just fine. In the video, it didn't seem all that impressive because, again, it's a dull chain. But I do have a video not too long ago where I was cutting pretty decent with this saw. Again, full house. The video that I did with that chain, which I think was an Oregon Vanguard, that was, I'm pretty sure it was factory chain. I don't even think I hit the rakers on that. So if you want to see it run with some factory Oregon chain, that's where you could check that out. But, it pulls just fine. If you're worried about oiling, these saws, at least this one, and at least two more MS391s that I've come across, they have an adjustable oiler on them. You may not know that, but even some prosumer or consumer Stihl saws will have that awesome little feature in it. So you may want to look at the bottom of your saws because I didn't know that, and had I known that, that might have saved this saw from needing a lengthy repair. At least it took a while for me to figure it out. Now, I'll say, for those 4 years, I didn't have any issues. I didn't have any problems with, didn't even need a carb kit. Just air filter, change the spark plug like every 2 years, and be good. And it's not like I was cutting, 20, 30 cords of wood. It's not like I was doing production falling or anything. But it ran. For a property owner saw, for a homeowner saw, this thing ran just fine. Then you may see this black spot on here. I also apologize for the train that's going to be coming by here not too long from now. But that black spot on there was from when I tried to do a muffler mod. And so I'm going to tell you guys, if you have these saws, these prosumer saws with the plastic cases, really, really, I don't know, I'm going to take it anyways. Really, really consider the angle of the louvers as they're going down. Consider the amount of airflow that you're letting through. And just, honestly, in my opinion, just get a dual port muffler or make a dual port muffler. There's tons of kits online, eBay, West Coast saws. Just put a little port right there on the side, because I had to get another OEM muffler because I was starting to melt through the case here. I was starting to melt into the oil tank, and that's obviously not something I want to do. So make sure that if you do that, that might be good now. Make sure if you do a muffler mod that you really, really make sure to, don't do what I do, basically. Now, getting back to my gripe with the adjustable oiler. Now, number one, part of the problem was not on the oiler. Part of the problem was on me. Once again, the newbie saw owner, the guy who doesn't know what he's doing but thinks he knows everything, right? There were more times than I could count. Probably more times that I open up the oil tank on here. For the first 2 years of me owning this saw, did I find no oil? Then I found half a tank, quarter of a tank, any oil. I just ran it hot. I ran it way too hot. So that was my problem. It's not it's not the saw's fault that it started having problems. Now, what happened, it wouldn't want to run after it got warm. So I was working at the back of the property. I was cutting, I want to say for about 3 hours. And I'll tell you, I really need to secure this thing. I'll tell you, when I cut, I run my saw for maybe, those 3-4 hours straight, and that I don't take breaks. My breaks are filling this thing up. And then I'll take a break, come back, collect the wood, do that sort of thing. But, I run these saws as if they're professional saws. So I was going, and out of nowhere, it just started to die, wanted to die. And took it in, figured it just needed a carb kit. Or a tuning, excuse me. Cleaning, tuning, whatever you want to say. I'm trying to sharpen and make a video all at the same time. A little hectic for me. First time I'm trying to do this. So I thought it just needed a little carb tuning, a little cleanup. So I tore it apart, cleaned it up, tuned it, and, well, it still ran like shit. But then the issue became, as I was trying to tune it, I stripped out the limiter caps. And I said, rather than going through the work of trying to take the limiter caps out, I'm just going to get a new carburetor. So, ordered a new carburetor. Well, in the process of taking the old carburetor with the stripped limiter cap screw cover things off and getting the new one, I lost the little Z-bend clutch rod for, the little 4-position choke thing, the choke lever rod. So that was obviously, that was a problem. I'll put it that way. That was a problem. And what became of that was I tried ordering from White's Farm Supply, I think it was. Ordered it from White's Farm Supply, and the cost of the part was like $248, I want to say. And $248 then became, what was it? I think it was 13 something, because the shipping was 10 and a lot of change.
So the shipping costs a lot more than the part itself. Then come to find out, I get the part in the mail, and they just shipped it normally. They just packaged it up, took it down to the post office, said, hey, we need to ship this out. And the shipping was not $10 and a lot of change. It was like $7.80. So they overcharged me more than the part actually cost me. Neither here nor there. Don't order from White's Farm Supply. I just wanted to put that out there. So, got the Z-bend. In the process of waiting for that, though, I decided to go through the saw and just kind of give it a once-over. And what I noticed was that my worm gear, well, first I should say the clutch, I took off the clutch cover, took off the clutch drum. Clutch drum seemed fine. No problems there. I did change that out to a rim sprocket instead of the traditional spur sprocket that comes with these. I have thrown so few chains. Honestly, I've only thrown a chain, I think twice, with a rim sprocket. This one and a couple of my other saws. So I haven't run them for as long as I've run a spur sprocket, but still, I think it would just a little bit safer. That's my thought. So, man, that's a bad tooth. But change out the spur sprocket, removed that, and then when I saw the clutch was, we'll say toasty. It was a pretty rainbow color, so it got a little bit warm. And then you take the clutch off and you find that the worm gear is completely shot. In the process of ordering the worm gear, I was going to replace the oil pump as well, because I figured I'm in there, I might as well do it. But of course, the Chinesian oil pump that I ordered didn't fit the saw. Go figure. Worm gear did though, so that was a good thing. Worm gear fit, clutch fit, spur sprocket, all that good stuff fit, or rim sprocket, excuse me, all that fit. Put that on the saw. I also replaced the spark plug wire, because at one of the times I was taking the spark plug out, the spark plug wire ripped out. I don't know, just good old Stihl quality, right? But replace the spark plug wire, running fine now. Also tested it for compression. I'm very, very happy to say that 4 years on, this thing still has 150 PSI of compression. I know that's not too impressive, being as there's old Macolas that make that after, 50, 60 years, but still, I'm pretty happy about that. And speaking of keeping the compression going and whatnot, I am going to try to switch the fuel mix that I've been using. For the longest time, I was using the just regular Stihl mix oil. The stuff that's behind me, the HP Ultra. So that's what I was using. I'm going to try, it's over here, Maxim, I think. Maxima, Formula K2. After doing a little bit of research, I kind of came across it. It's either this guy, Motul, or just stick with that. But I figure I'm just going to give it a shot for a couple tanks of gas, see how it runs. I'm just interested to try it out more than anything. The other day when I was running this saw, and I ran it pretty hard for about, I'd say an hour and a half straight. It was just running. Went through, I want to say a tank and a half, maybe 2 tanks in that time. I don't remember. But putting in a good amount of work. Feeling the top cover, didn't feel hot, didn't feel bad. But then as I felt the side cover, felt a little bit warm. Now that leads us into the next thing that I did with this saw. And this is not a repair, this is just a modification. The full wrap kit. The full wrap handlebar kit that should, in my opinion, be offered directly from the factory with a metal side cover, an expanded metal side cover with a chip deflector, and some full-size felling dogs or log dogs, whatever you want to call them. This is actually the 362 full wrap kit. I don't remember off the top of my head what that part number is. I hope you forgive me for that, because how would I remember a part number off the top of my head? But I will be inserting that now, and that kit does 100% fit on this saw just fine. It, more than just fine, it fits it perfectly. The one issue that I do have with it, and it's not really with the kit itself, I don't think, but since I put it on, I've noticed honestly, I think it might be this spring over here. I had to replace this side spring because the one that comes with the standard half wrap wouldn't fit with the full wrap. The full wrap has this different type of spring. So number one, let's see if I can make it happen. No, I'm not going to do it. So I can't make it happen for whatever reason, but there's a wire that's inside here, and it just happened there. It just wants to kink up. And not only that, but the spring here, it's just loose. Like you could see me, it's just way, way too loose. There's a spot over here in the housing. Actually, I'm going to take the saw out of the vise and show you guys this. Just to show you how much this saw and kit were made for each other, alright? So hopefully you can see this okay. Over here on the housing, you could actually see where there's a hole in the wrap handlebar for the 362 where you're supposed to put a little rubber bumper for more support, for more anti-vibration. Well, look back there inside the chassis of the saw. Do my eyes deceive me? Or does that look like a little spot where one of those little rubber grommet things are supposed to go? Am I wrong or am I right? I think I'm right on that. Unfortunately, the full wrap kit didn't come with one of those. So I'm left with a little bit of a flimsy saw. But that being said, I will say that I am trying out the Stihl light bar. The first one I'm trying it on is the 650, so we'll see how I like it on that. It's going to be with a 32-inch bar on there, so not totally sure how it's going to run. I think I'm going to love it, let's be honest. There's no reason why I would prefer the heavier bar, but I think that's going to help as I'm working with it and moving around with it, not feeling as flimsy. But I mean, crap, I've heard of the 500i, the new saw coming out from Stihl now, that has really, really crappy anti-vibration. It's really flimsy like this. West Coast Saws, shout out to you guys once again for making an awesome product that should come from the factory. The heavier Faller, I think it's called, heavyweight suspension kit for the 500i, again, should have come from the factory that way. Just like the metal side cover and the full wrap and the large size dogs, or bare minimum, make it an option. There's no reason why it shouldn't be an option when clearly it works together. I mean, that little spot back here, the little spot in the chassis where that rubber bumper is supposed to go, that's what really seals the deal for me, telling me that this saw was designed for this or vice versa. Cross compatibility is a big thing with these saw manufacturers and with pretty much all manufacturers nowadays. You know, no matter what you're looking at, whether it's a bike, a car, a chainsaw, you're going to find a lot of parts compatibility from one product to the next within the same company. So, again, when I see that, when I see a spot where a rubber bumper is supposed to go with a full wrap handlebar, and yet there is no option from Stihl that I'm aware of that comes with a full wrap on this 391, ridiculous to me. I'll stop ranting on that, but I really just think that's a failure on Stihl's part. And on top of that, why are the full wraps only allowed in certain areas? Why is it that only the Pacific Northwest and British Columbia has access to that? Like, that doesn't make any sense for me either. Are we the only places that use chainsaws in weird positions? That's the other thing that I don't get. But regardless, this saw has been running well. The new carburetor is running perfect in it. The clutch, the worm gear, everything's running in it. It's oiling fine, oiling perfect. I will say, once again, I mentioned that I was feeling the clutch side getting a little warm. I don't know if that's because I changed out the clutch cover for a metal one. this is the main saw that I've run for the past 4 years. I have all of my other saws, I have barely any time on those compared to this guy. So when I'm comparing other saws and stuff, you know, this is my main go-to for comparing, or changing setups, I should say, rather than different saws. So when I change a setup, this is the only one I have to compare it to. So when I'm feeling the metal side cover feeling warmer than the plastic one, obviously the metal one's going to conduct more heat, but you know, could it be the clutch getting too hot? Could it be the worm gear not oiling properly? I don't know. But that's just kind of my thought. Again, great saw. I would definitely recommend that if you have the opportunity to run one, I definitely would. I would try it with the 25-inch bar. I think the 25-inch is like the perfect spot for it. Not underpowered, not overpowered, because it comes from the factory with either a 20 or a 25-inch bar, if I'm not mistaken. Mine came with a 25-inch. I know that for a fact. And it ran beautifully. It ran like crazy with that thing. Full house chain ran beautifully. I do want to try this with skip tube though, because I don't know if you can see it down here, but I have 2 boxes of 25-foot Oregon chain, one full skip, one full house, and they are both just the standard Oregon non-safety chain. Don't remember what they're called, but just like with the parts number, I will put that in the description as well as in the video. And I'm really looking forward to making my own chain, because obviously I need to make one for the 32-inch, but for this guy too, I want to try it with full skip, because I know that there's some famous YouTubers out there who run some chainsaws and some vintage chainsaws, like the little black and yellow guy up there, who talk about running 28-inch bars full skip on these smaller saws all the time, because it allows you to keep the RPMs up in the cut and allows you to clear the chips better with these longer bars and the lower CCs. So we'll see if it works. That's the idea at least. And since I got the chain, I might as well try it, right? Worst comes to worst, I'll just use that chain as, you know, scrap as I need to replace them, and you know, is what it is.
I don't know about you guys, but I always prefer filing the right side than I do the left side. But gotta get it done. I'll also say, I forgot to mention after rewatching the footage I just took, while the adjustable oiler wouldn't have saved me from having to replace the clutch, having to replace the worm gear, all that good stuff, it may have if I would have continued to put oil in it a little bit more diligently earlier on. Because I only recognized that oiler, I want to say about a month ago. It wasn't very long ago, and I just saw it down there. I just, hey, look at that, it has an adjustable oiler. And if I would have noticed that, running a 28-inch bar, I would have had that maxed out, obviously. Now, I did throw enough oil with the just standard stock setting dead in the middle on this 28-inch. When I was actually tuning it on my deck, because wood deck, that way if the chain hits it accidentally, it's not going to, you know, dig in or kick back or anything. But there's still streaks of oil left from when that bar was spitting it off. So it oils more than enough at the stock setting, but you know, when you're running these longer bars, especially with full house chain, it would definitely help to be able to have that oiler cranked up all the way. So that's something that I think, you know, again, in my opinion, it should come on all Stihl saws. Well, they should just come maxed from the factory, I guess. That does kind of create some issues if you are a professional person, because then you have to, you know, if you're falling in an area that's in a watershed, you're going to have some issues. But, you know, for the standard homeowner saw, it should come maxed out. And this is a homeowner saw, so it should come maxed out. That's just my opinion. I know all the EPA regulations are different nowadays, but you know, that's just me. But again, runs fine, oil's fine, no real problems with it. The
Carburetor's fixed, it's running well. The clutch is fixed, worm gear's fixed, clutch cover. I know you can't see it back here, but the clutch cover on this thing, man, I really prefer it over the stock. And the chip deflector too. I didn't think it would matter, but it actually does matter. It helps kick those chips out pretty well. So I'm very happy with that. Well, I think I've probably rambled about this saw enough. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. Again, you guys, I'm not a professional. I do call myself a logger. I call myself a Jippo logger specifically because I'm not a professional. I am just a contract logger where if someone needs some trees taken down, I can probably take them down, providing they're not hanging over a house or something. So I know what I'm talking about to a certain extent, but once again, I'm not one of these old hats that have been doing this for, 2 decades or something. I've only been alive about 2 decades, so I'm only worth so much information, but I've run this saw for about 4 years at this point, so I know the ins and outs of it. I have run into some problems. The clutch, the worm gear, carburetor, the attempt at a muffler mod, stuff like that, the adjustable oiler, but that all said, it's a great saw. I still think that for the money, this is an incredible saw. Now, that being said though, if you know what you're doing and you know how to work on saws, look on Craigslist. And I say check Craigslist if you know how to wrench on saws, even a little bit, because deals are out there. The 1010 that's on the shelf back there, while it does need a gasket for the gas tank, and it did need a carb rebuild, I paid $100 for that saw. The 650 that's back there, the powerhouse that's going to be pulling the 32-inch chain here pretty soon with the light bar, paid $420 for that. Okay, so if you know how to replace a carburetor, rebuild a carburetor, and you know how to check a used saw to make sure you're not getting ripped off, deals can be had. That being said though, if you're on a budget and you want to be able to run a 28-inch bar with a new saw, you want a new saw. You don't want to have the old saw problems. You want to be able to run a 28-inch bar, and you want to do it on a somewhat of a budget, this is your go-to option, in my opinion. It has more than enough cc's. It's 64, I want to say. Let's see. It says it on here. Ah, I got it right. 64 cc's. For 64 cc's, it pulls just fine. It does just fine. If you are, like I say, the homeowner, if you are a property owner who just needs a good saw, a reliable saw, one that can dig into bigger trees when need be, but one that's going to be better served with the 25-inch bar. I'm not going to lie, it would pull a 25-inch bar better than the 28, but again, I've run this 28 for over a year at this point on this saw, dedicated. Works perfect. So, I'm rambling way too much, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave a like. Comment if you have any questions. Share the video with someone you think also might enjoy it. I would really appreciate it if you do those things, as well as subscribe, because YouTube doesn't do a good job of sharing my videos and recommending my videos. So if you do that, I really would appreciate it, because I rely on you guys for that sort of stuff. So with that, you guys, I got a few more teeth to file. I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe for some more. We didn't even review the quad in this video. I rambled for so long, we didn't even get to that. So that's going to be in a separate video. Sorry for holding you, hanging you, dangling that over you, and then, leaving without it. But gotta subscribe for that, I guess. With that, you guys, thank you for watching. Think for yourself. Shoot straight, cut straight, and I will see you next time.